In 2 Samuel chapter 17, maybe I should turn my Bible there. In 2 Samuel chapter 17, we see two bits of advice given to the so-called king, the one called Absalom, David's third son. The scene is in Jerusalem as Absalom is acting as the king of Israel, and he's given two bits of information, two pieces of advice. His father, King David, has left Jerusalem, as we've seen. He's crossed the Jordan River now, and there are two bits of advice that come to him. Number one, Ahithophel's advice. Now remember Ahithophel, he's known throughout the land as a great counselor of Israel. When he speaks, it's as if the word of God went forth. What Ahithophel says is always right in Israel, and he gives Absalom some advice. Absalom's first choice, Ahithophel's advice. Take 12,000 men, form an army out of 12,000 men. I will lead them into battle, and I'll kill David alone. Why would you kill all of David's army when you could take David's army and make them loyal to you by force? We don't want to kill his army. We just want to take him out. It was brilliant advice. It should have been taken, except for God and his man on the ground, Hushai. Because this is advice number two. This was David's friend Hushai that remained loyal to David. And it was David's answer to prayer. It was God's answer to David's prayer when David said, "Let the advice of Ahithophel become foolishness." And God immediately brought Hushai into the picture. David says, "Go back. I need a spy in the palace, and I need someone who can make Ahithophel's advice foolish." And here you have it. Hushai's advice to Absalom is take all the army of Israel, muster every man of age, and you, Absalom, lead them into battle. Not Ahithophel, you, the great king. You go into battle, and not only will you kill David, but kill all of his men. So these are the two options open to Absalom, who, remember, is David's son, trying to steal the throne from David. So far, he's done a great job. David's left the throne, left Jerusalem, and Absalom's in Jerusalem, sitting on the throne, receiving advice. What we don't know yet is which of these pieces of advice he took, but remember from 2 Samuel 17:14, it says, "Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said, 'The counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. Let's muster all the army and go destroy all of them.'" And then it says, remember, look at the quotation marks. The quotation marks are important. They didn't say the next part of this verse. It's clarification from the writer of the scripture. The men of Israel say Hushai's advice is better, and then the clarification is, but why would they say that? Because God is involved in this decision. And it says, "For Yahweh the Lord had ordained to thwart the good counsel of Ahithophel, so that Yahweh the Lord might bring calamity on Absalom." This is the way God had chosen for Absalom to die. He would defeat Absalom. He would quash is the word, quash this rebellion, and bring Absalom's death by doing exactly this. A few verses later it says, "Now when Ahithophel," what happens to Ahithophel, the great counselor of Israel? Everybody knew who the man was. Everybody assumed and accepted his words as the words of God. How is he going to respond when his advice is overlooked? Overruled even. By who is this guy, Hushai? It says, when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, probably for the first time in his career as a royal counselor, this is how he responded. He saddled his donkey and arose and went to his house. So he leaves the king's palace. He goes to his own home in his own city. He set his house in order, and he hung himself. He strangled himself, and in this way he died and was buried in the grave of his father. such disgrace came on Ahithophel. And remember, this is all God's response to David's prayer. May Ahithophel's counsel be made foolishness. And the reaction of Ahithophel is, I've got to take my own life. Never have I known such disgrace. And off goes Ahithophel. Verse 14, then David came to Mahanaim. Let's see if I'm in the right verse here. We have to fast forward. What verse is that? Oh, verse 24. I'm sorry. Old eyes. Verse 24, it says, then David came. I'm in 2 Samuel chapter 17. Go with me to verse 24. We're going to finish the chapter and go into verse 8, chapter 18. David came to Mahanaim. This is a city. And Absalom crossed the Jordan. Absalom is in pursuit of his father. He crosses from west to east. He's going after his dad. He's mustered the army. A battle's about to take place. Absalom crossed the Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. Just a quick map I like to show you. I'm just a map guy. I like to know where I'm at. This is Israel on the left. Here is Jerusalem. The map on the right, the arrow that just came up, is where Jerusalem is. Notice that it's about parallel to the northern end of the Dead Sea, which is just to the right of it. There's Jerusalem. Here's David's path to Mahanaim. This is where Mahanaim is. David has crossed the Jordan River. The Jordan River is right here. Remember, they came to David and said, cross the Jordan River. He's coming for you. This up here is Jesus' Sea of Galilee, where Jesus would spend so much of his time. Down here is the Dead Sea. And so that is the path, basically the path of David out of Jerusalem, away from the capital city. And David ends up in this city of Mahanaim. And Absalom and his army, the army of Israel, is in hot pursuit of David, trying to find David. They've crossed the Jordan. They want to not only kill David, but kill every one of David's men. So that's where David is, Mahanaim. I have a question to ask. Why there? If David had to cross the river, why did David end up in the city of Mahanaim? And there's at least a couple of things we can talk about. Number one, it's a capital city. It's the city where Saul's son, you won't remember this, it's the city where Saul's son, remember who Saul is, the king before David, David's father-in-law. It's the city where Saul's son Ishbosheth, remember that name? Ishbosheth was the king over the 10 northern tribes for several years, and this is the city where he was crowned. It's a royal city. It's an important city. It's a capital city. And more importantly, it, for some reason, is a safe city for David to be in. It's a respectable place. Let me show you, going back into the book of 2 Samuel, all the way to chapter 2, that one of the reasons why David was there was probably because this is a royal city where Ishbosheth had been made king, and David wants to assert the fact, I am still the king of Israel. So he doesn't go to a podunk, he goes to a royal city. In 2 Samuel 2 it says, then Abner the son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth the son of Saul and brought him over to Mahanaim. And the next verse says, he made him king. So this is where Ishbosheth was crowned king. It's a royal city. It's got heritage, and David wanted to make sure everybody knew, I'm running, but I'm the king of Israel. Probably why he ended up in Mahanaim, a respectable city with a royal past, and it was also a fortified city, walled city, protected city, a city where you may be able to have a fight from, have a battle from. There's another reason. They may have liked David in Mahanaim. He may have been popular there, more popular than in any other city, because of his kindness to Mephibosheth. Remember, Mephibosheth is Saul's grandson. And David brought Mephibosheth, the crippled man, in, and Mephibosheth ate at David's royal table for years and years and years and years. Decades have gone by, and David has been kind to Mephibosheth. And maybe they treated David kindly because of his kindness to their man Mephibosheth. The bottom line is David needed a safe city to go to that would not reject him. All of Israel now is following Absalom. Only David's entourage that's traveling with him, a couple thousand, 2,000 or 3,000 people, only these people are supporting David. He needed to go to a safe city. And by God's doing, Mahanaim was a safe city. That's where David went. Verse 25, 2 Samuel 17, verse 25. What's going on in the kingdom now? Absalom has two pieces of advice. He takes the second, Hushai's advice. He's crossed the Jordan River. He's on his way to Mahanaim. He wants to get to David to destroy the army, but he needs a military man to lead it. In verse 25, we see the military man that he chooses. It says, Absalom set Amasa over the army in place of Joab. Remember who Joab is? Joab is David's nephew. Joab is David's sister, Tzruiah. It's his sister Tzruiah's son, Joab. Well, Absalom why didn't Absalom choose Joab to be the commander? Because Joab has gone with David. Joab is David's man, David's commander. Joab is with David. So the army is left without a leader. So Absalom chooses Amasa to lead the army. I'll show you in just a minute. This is another nephew of David's. This is David's other sister's kid, Amasa. Now Amasa was the son of a man whose name was Ithra the Israelite, who went into Abigail, the daughter of Nahash. Now, I'm telling you now, there's a textual variant here. There's some scribal errors in this verse. I would cross out Nahash and write the name Jesse, because that's who this is talking about. I'll show you a verse that clears this up from Chronicles in just a second. There are textual variants here where the guy writing this book, writing this letter, mistook the name of Jesse and he wrote Nahash. If you go down to verse 27, which is just 2 verses later, you will see the name Nahash. And I wonder if it was just a scribal error that his eye went a couple of lines down and he imported that name above. Don't let these things scare you. There are mistakes in the transmission, the copying of the Bible that have no bearing on the facts of the Bible, the major foundational facts of the Bible. This is simply a name here. But it says, Amasa was the son of a man whose name was Ithra the Israelite, who went into Abigail, who was one of David's sisters. I'll show it to you in just a second. Abigail is David's sister, King David's sister. So this is King David's sister's son. It's David's nephew. From a different sister, different family, still a nephew. Joab was one of David's sister's kids. Amasa is one of David's sister's kids, a nephew. Keep it in the family. The last thing you want is for a military and a general of the military to rise up and take your kingdom from you. So you got to keep it close to the family, right? Although a son has risen up against his own father in this case. So it says here about Abigail, who went into Abigail, who's the daughter of Jesse and the sister of Tzruiah, who is Joab's mother. They're sisters. This is family. 1 Chronicles 2, let me make sense of it in this chapter. In 1 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 13 through 17, we have another genealogy, a much more intact genealogy. 1 Chronicles, you talk about a book that'll kill you when you start to read it in your yearly one-year Bible. 1 Chronicles goes about 8 chapters with nothing but genealogy, nothing but lists of name after name after name after name. And boy, can you get lost in there, but thank God for his record keeping. If not for these names, listen to what I'm about to say. If not for God's genealogy, we would not know that Jesus is a son of David. But for God's perfect record keeping and the Jews' perfect record keeping, we know that Jesus of Nazareth qualifies to be the Messiah because he's in the family of David. And if we didn't have these pinpoint genealogies, we wouldn't be able to get to that fact. Jesse is David's father. This is Jesse's family. I tell you that David and Abigail and Zeruiah are brother and sister. I'm going to show you in the chronicler's words. Jesse became the father of Eliab, his firstborn. Then Abinadab the second, Shemaiah the third, Nethanel the fourth, Radai the fifth. These are David's brothers. Ozem the sixth, and then here we have David the seventh. David, King David, the slayer of Goliath. And then it mentions Jesse had daughters too. 7 sons, he also had daughters. Their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail. And here's Abigail right here. Here are the 2 sisters. I can't imagine what type of sisters these would have been, because these women both raised military generals that commanded an army. Some kind of woman to raise a military general. Not only Joab, Abishai, Zeruiah had 3 sons that were all in David's top echelon of military leader, and Abigail had 1 son, Amasa. What a family of commanders of men. Not only do you have David, the great military leader of Israel, the slayer of the giant, a man of incredible courage, but you have his sisters raising men of incredible courage. What a family. 3 sons of Zeruiah, here they are, Abishai, Joab, and Asahel. And Abigail bore Amasa. The father of Amasa was Yether the Ishmaelite. If you'll remember from our verse, it says his father's name was Ithra the Israelite. Easy scribal errors. It's nothing but very simple scribal errors. Imagine sitting day by day in dim light. You're not talking about great light. You're talking about candles with ancient scrolls you're reading from, with ancient inks that may have run and blurred, and you're trying to make sense of all these things and make a perfect copy of it. You're tired. You probably don't have proper readers the way we do now. It would have been a disaster to try to be a scribe. Talk about a tough job. Hour after hour after hour for 10, 12, 14 hours a day doing nothing but copying from one writing to another. The scribes were an interesting people. They actually had their own schools. To become a scribe in Israel was a big thing. It was a scholarly position. And so they actually had their own schools like we would, a pastor's school, seminaries or whatever. The scribes went through very, very strict training, but they weren't perfect and they got tired. I just chalk this up to nothing but that. Their sisters. So David's sisters, David and his 6 brothers had these sisters, and here are their names, Zeruiah and Abigail. And here is Abigail having a son named Amasa, who is Absalom's leader of the military. All that to say that in verse 25 of 2 Samuel 17, when it says Absalom set Amasa over the army, he chose his cousin. You catch that, right? If it's David's nephew, then it's Absalom's first cousin. Absalom chose his first cousin, Amasa, to lead his army. All in the family here, friends. All in the family. So Amasa is David's nephew. He's the son of David's sister Abigail. He's Absalom's first cousin. All in the family. Again, Joab is with David. Joab is with David. That's why he didn't continue being the commander of the army. He is in exile with his king, his uncle David. Verse 26, it says, and Israel and Absalom camped in the land of Gilad. Let me show you on the map again, just very simply. All this area on the east side of the Jordan River is known as Gilad. It's where the tribes of who? Ephraim, half the tribe of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Gad. Gad? Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. All camped out. Oh, there it is on the left. I don't see well today. Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh were the tribes on the east side, all in what was already known before Israel got to it as the land of Gilad. That's where Israel and Absalom, they are chasing David to Mahanaim to destroy David and his army. In verse 27, it says, now when David had come to Mahanaim, 3 men met him there. The 3 men are Shobi, the son of Nahash, from Rabbah of the sons of Ammon. This is interesting. He's a chieftain. This Shobi is a chieftain. He's a Gentile. He's an Ammonite. And remember earlier in the story, if you remember, David went to war with Joab against the sons of Ammon. But now all of a sudden the sons of Ammon are bringing supplies to David, and you wonder, how can that be? Because David and the kingdom of Israel have made the sons of Ammon subservient to them. The sons of Ammon serve David and Israel. So this man Shobai is a chieftain subservient to David during these years, and he brought things to his king, even though he wasn't Jewish. So it says, when David got to Mahanaim, Shobai the son of Nahash from Rabbah of the sons of Ammon was there. Machir of the sons of Amiel from Lo-debar was there. We'll talk about this man in just a second. I'll show you a couple verses. Why did he show up? And who is this man from this city of Lo-debar? And why is it so important to him to provide for David and his men? I'll show you in just a second. Again, the name Mephibosheth comes back. Machir, the son of Amiel from Lo-debar, and this other guy who will remain, his name will remain in this story for a time, Barzillai the Gileadite from Rohalim. This will become a great man in David's world. So Shobai, I already told you who he is. He's a chieftain from the sons of Ammon. But what about this guy, Machir from Lo-debar? Just a city, not a people, not a great... the Ammonites were a civilization of people. But now we're just talking about a city. And why did this man representing this city come out to David? Look what it says back in 2 Samuel chapter 9. David's asking the question, is there not yet anyone of the house of Saul to whom I may show the goodness or the kindness of God? Remember, David had made a promise to Jonathan that I won't destroy all your people when I become king. As a matter of fact, I'll show kindness to them. And he's keeping his promise to his friend Jonathan. So he's searching. Is there anybody left of the house of Saul that I may keep my promise to my friend Jonathan? And Ziba said to the king, there is still a son of Jonathan who's crippled in both feet. What's his name? Mephibosheth. You say, well, what does that have to do with Machir from the city of Lo-debar? Keep reading. Look at the next verse. So the king said to him, where is he? Where has Mephibosheth been in the years since Saul was killed? You tell me he's crippled. You tell me the story. I want to show him kindness. Where is he on planet Earth? And where is he? Ziba said to the king, behold, Mephibosheth is in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, in Lo-debar. Why is it important for Machir from Lo-debar to provide for David? Because one good turn deserves another. And after the decades in which you've been taking care of my friend Mephibosheth, who I housed and made protected in my house, you took him and protected him in your house. You, King David, have gained my respect, and I will protect and provide for you as best as God allows me to. And that's why this man showed up, because he had once been the protector and provider of Mephibosheth. He was Mephibosheth's host for years. And David took that chore over and he was responding in kind to David. He's repaying David, if you will, for David's kindness to his friend Mephibosheth. What did they bring in verse 28? It says they brought beds. And look at this list. They brought beds, basins, pottery, wheat. I mean, David left in haste from Jerusalem. He would have none of these things. And no one knew how long David was going to be out of Jerusalem. They don't just need food for the night. They need provisions to be able to survive here. That's why you have all these strange things like bedding, beds, basins, pottery, wheat, barley, flour, parched grain, beans, lentils, parched seeds, honey. Expansive, isn't it? Curds, sheep, and cheese of the herd for David and for the people who were with him to eat. And this was their thinking, these three men. The people are hungry and weary and thirsty in this wilderness. They can't provide for themselves. They're on the run. They're fugitives. He's the sitting king of Israel, but yet he's a fugitive. And so we have to provide for them in the wilderness. We move in, that's the end of the 17th chapter. We move into chapter 18. Before Absalom can seize full control of Israel, which is what he wants, obviously, full control of Israel, he has to kill his father, the ruling king. And so David strategically, David is a great man of warfare. David strategically moves the battle to a site that suits the strength of his small army. I don't want to fight him in the plains. I want to lure him into the forest. It's got that, what's his name? The forest guy. Who? No, I'm thinking of Robin. What's his name? Robin Hood. I'm thinking of Robin Hood. Robin Hood could get the great armies of the king into the forest and defeat them every time because it's hard to fight battle in forests. Think Vietnam, 1960s. Hard to fight battles in forests. And if you know the forest, you have the upper hand. If you have a smaller army, you have the upper hand. These armies used to march in phalanxes, right? Shoulder to shoulder and row after row. And when you get to the forest, what do but break up? You lose the protection and security of the guy to your left and your right. All of a sudden, you're in this hand-to-hand combat, and David's men know that kind of war. So David strategically moves the battle to a site that he can control. He gets them into the forest. David numbered the people. David numbered the people who were with him and set over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. So David at least had 2,000 men with him because it's plural, thousands. I don't think his army was much bigger than that, 2,000 or 3,000 at the most, I would say. But he numbered the people and he split them up. He numbers them so he can make a plan. He needs to know how big his army is. And now the strategy of David in verse 2. David sent the people out, 1/3 under the command of Joab, his nephew. 1/3 under the command of Abishai, the son of Zeruiah. That's interesting that they call him that. Joab is also the son of Zeruiah, but everybody knows it already. So when they introduce Abishai, who is Joab's brother, they say that who his mother is here. 1/3 under the command of Ittai the Gittite. So you have two Jewish men, Joab and his brother Abishai, leading David's army. And you also have a Gentile. Interesting. You have Ittai the Gittite. This man is from Gath. This is the home of Goliath, the giant whom David had killed. The king said to the people, I will surely go out with you also. Not only am I sending, I've split the army into threes, but I will also be among the fighters. But just another word about Ittai the Gittite. He's a man from Gath. He's a Gentile, the city of Goliath, who fought with David, who David killed with the slung stone into the forehead, and then David beheaded him. This is a man from Goliath's hometown, and he's loyal to David, the Jewish king. Earlier in the story, when they were leaving Jerusalem, David told Ittai, "Enough, friend. You followed me all these years. I don't want you to follow me into exile. Go back to your own people. Go back to your own city. Live out your years in peace." And Ittai told David, "I refuse. Where you go, I go. Where you live, I live. Where you die, I die." Loyalty from the Gentile. The contrast here is that David's own son is trying to kill him, and a Gentile is protecting David. Israel, O Israel. Verse 3, after David's insistence that I'm going to be in this fight, the people said, "You should not go out to battle." Going out and coming in Jewish parlance, is about going in and out to battle. You shall not go out. And this is the reason. If we indeed flee, they'll not care about us. Even if half of us die, they will not care about us. We're nothing. We're expendables. You're the anointed king of Israel. You are worth 10,000 of us. Therefore now it is better that you be ready to help us from the city. You're in a fortified city. If they drive us back here, you be ready to help us from the city. The question is, does the great King David take their advice or not? In verse 4, the king said to them, "Whatever seems best to you, I will do." This is a David who's maturing spiritually very, very quickly now. So the king stood beside the gate. He stayed in the city, at the entrance to the city or the exit to the city at the gate. David is standing, heralding all his people as they go out to battle, hailing them as heroes as they left the city for battle. The king stood beside the gate, and all the people went out by hundreds and by thousands. Again, David has an army of at least 2,000, but probably not too much bigger than that. They followed him out of Jerusalem, and now they are protecting and defending the king in battle against the entire army of Israel. Kind of Alamo-like. Tiny army fighting a giant army. No chance of victory except for the forest. Except for the surprise of the forest. No chance for victory. Interesting line is about to come up concerning God's forest. Verse 5, the king charged Joab and Abishai and Ittai. These are his three commanders, and he gives them a charge, a command, and this is what he says: "You men of the army, don't kill my son. Deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom." It says, "And all the people heard when the king charged all the commanders concerning Absalom." You want us to do what? Imagine what's going on here. "We have followed you, king, out of Jerusalem because a madman wants your throne." A madman who is a known murderer in Israel, having killed his brother Amnon, remember years ago, for the rape of his sister. He's a killer. And he's come here with the army of Israel to kill you. And you've selected us to protect you. But you want us not to kill the enemy. Imagine being a commander being told, don't kill the enemy. That's exactly what David says here. I'm going to show you a verse. We're going to get to it in just a minute, but just previews of coming attractions. How do you know that's what David said when he says deal gently? What does he mean by that? Look what it says just a few verses later. The man said to Joab, even if I should receive 1,000 pieces of silver in my hand, I would not put out my hand against the king's son Absalom. Why is that? For in our hearing, we just read that he told the three men, the three commanders, deal gently with my son. And it says, and all the people heard. The soldiers heard. So this soldier comes back, reports that Absalom is stuck in a tree. Joab says, did you kill him? And he says, not me. Because we heard our king, David, give instruction concerning this man. For in our hearing the king charged you and Abishai and Ittai, saying, protect for me the young man Absalom. So here we have a word more easily defined than the word deal gently. Protect is the word shamar in the Hebrew. S-H-A-M-A-R. It goes all the way back to where? Anybody know? If Amy was in here, this is one of Amy's favorite words. She would know exactly what I'm referring to. It goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Because Adam was commanded by God, you shamar this garden. To keep it, to watch over it, to guard it. This is one of the things that Adam failed at by letting the serpent into the garden, speaking against the word of God. He failed to keep and guard the garden and watch over it. It also means to maintain in safety over injury, harm, or danger. David is asking the generals of his army, I know you're going out to fight the men of Israel in battle for my sake, but also for my sake, please don't injure, harm, or danger my son Absalom. Astounding that David would ask military men who are protecting him with their lives. So what if Absalom comes at me with the sword? What do you want me to do? Not fight him? You want him to be able to kill me? You want me to allow him to kill me? What are you asking of me? Because David didn't want Absalom harmed in any way. He wanted him returned to him. What he intended to do with Absalom is mysterious. How could there ever be peace between a father and his son who sent an army to kill his father? How do you get over that? How do you sweep that under the rug? So David is struggling here, friends, with the feelings of a father over the duty of a king. Protect the nation. I don't care who you have to kill. Protect the nation. But David's father's heart says, but I don't want to kill my son because I love my son. And I know he's all mixed up, and I know he's trying to kill me. Absalom is a traitor and a rebel deserving death. But David, again, is fighting the feelings of a father over the duty as a king. He's a man in turmoil here. The battle in the woods. Verse 6. The people, these are David's people, the people went out into the field against Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim, one of the tribes of Israel. So that's where they are. David has lured this battle into the forest. David's men, small army, used to hiding and fighting in forests. Especially 600 of these men who had run from Saul for 11 years with David, in forests, in and out of caves. They knew this battle. The battle was better suited for them. The people of Israel, Absalom's people, the army of Israel that he gathered, the people of Israel were defeated there before the servants of David, and the slaughter there that day was great, 20,000 men. So David's men killed 20,000 Jewish countrymen These are Jews killing Jews. Verse 8 says, "For the battle there was spread over the whole countryside." And listen to this phrase. You tell me what this means. "The forest devoured more people that day than the sword devoured." 20,000 men of Israel, 20,000 of Absalom's troops are killed. The Bible says, this isn't poetry, this is history, this is fact, that the fact that they were fighting in the forest devoured more of the people than being drawn through with David's men's swords. What does that mean? We aren't told exactly what that means, but we can say, very carefully, we can say that God, Yahweh, David's protector on this day, allowed this battle in the forest, which would make it very hard for Absalom's men to travel rapidly. They don't know how to fight in these woods. So they can't get away as easily as they should have. The thick thorns in a forest, if you've ever been in a forest with thorns in it, it's brutal. The rocky soil would trap them, making them easy prey for David's army. But it says it wasn't David's army that killed him, it was the forest. More than the swords of men, the forest devoured. We simply aren't told any more about this, but we know that Yahweh was involved personally with his forest. A great, I won't say mystery because there is an explanation for it. We're just not told. What we are told is the forest devoured. What we're not told is whether the forest had angels to help. We just don't know exactly how God did this or what he did in that forest. But God's hand was with David that day. And an army of 2,000 or 3,000 men killed 20,000, and the forest did most of the killing. How does that happen? It doesn't even matter to me. It happens because God allowed it, and God did it, and God protected David that day. You can't go any deeper down that rabbit hole. We could talk about it all day long. It's all speculation. It's outside of the Word of God. The truth is that God, using his forest, devoured. I take you to a similar event where the earth in the time of Moses, Moses and Aaron running Israel, as they're in the wilderness, there is a time when there's an upheaval. The sons of Levi, Dathan, Abiram, there is this revolt against Moses and against the people of the Levites running the worship. And how does God deal with the revolt? They have gathered 250 men. They are revolting against David and Aaron and their control over Israel, their tight connection and relationship with God. They are in revolt. And what does God use to quell that rebellion? He uses his earth. What does it say in that verse? That the ground opened up and swallowed them. What did God do with the forest? I don't know, but he did it. That's all you can say. He used his creation to destroy more men than David's swords destroyed. And I love God for saying things like this, that we say, what does that mean? And God says, just wait, I'll tell you one day. Absalom, let's just read the lines and we stop. Absalom happened to meet the servants of David. He's in battle with his troops. What happens to him? For Absalom was riding on his mule. Now let me just say, a mule is a royal ride. It's what kings ride on. Remember the mules that were brought out by Ziba? I brought you mules so your family could ride on mules. This is royal family carriage. That's what a mule is. And Absalom is riding on his mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a great oak tree, and his head caught fast in the oak. Remember earlier it talked about Absalom's hair and how thick it was. It would be his undoing. So he was left hanging between heaven and earth. His hair got stuck in the tree. And the mule that was under him kept going. Now, if there's ever symbolism in the Bible, when the mule left from underneath Absalom, what was that leaving? But the claim to royalty, the claim to the throne. God leaves him in the tree dangling and strips all of his thoughts of royalty right out from under him. Who rules this? Who raises up kings and puts kings down but God himself? And what God did do on this day in great symbolism, Absalom's claim to the throne has been taken right out from under him. And we'll see what happens with Absalom next week. Let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for today.